Hi, this is Aaron from Inside the Skev. I hope you enjoy this next episode. If you want to listen live, tune in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. to WCGO. That's 95.9 FM, 1590 AM, or WCGOradio.com. Facebook Live at WCGO's page and Inside the Skev. To learn more about this great town and what I do, go to skevinston.com, and you could always contact me at aaron@skevinston.com. Now sit back and listen to this one message from one of our supporters, and we'll start the show.
In 2020, mortgage rates reached record lows. If you see home ownership in your future, the future is now. Beth Lewis at Cross Country Mortgage has the options and advice you need to find the perfect loan program for you. She'll get you pre-approved to give you an advantage over other buyers, and she'll close your loan quickly with a highly efficient process driven by advanced mortgage technology. Visit BethLewisTeam.com to get started. That's BethLewisTeam.com. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029, NMLSConsumerAccess.org, Equal Housing Opportunity, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee.
Hello, and welcome to Inside the Skev. I'm Aaron Masliansky, the host of the show, and I'm delighted to be here on WCGO. If you're listening live, there's also the podcast, and you can find more information at skevinston.com. But I am so thrilled to be here today to talk about a few different things. So we're going to be speaking in just a few moments with Roberta Bernstein and Judy Holstein, who wrote a book called Somewhere in Europe, the World War II letters of Sam Lessner, who is their father. And they found these letters after he passed away that he wrote to their mom when he was in Europe. And it's an amazing story and really tells the experience of the veterans and just the amazing sacrifice that people gave and continue to give for our freedom here in America. And today we speak the day after Joe Biden's been declared the winner of the presidential election. And no matter which way you voted, I think what we need to take from everything from the appreciation for veterans and for the appreciation of this country is that we are all Americans and we can come together, even if we have differences in opinion of who we wanted to lead us. Let's let that go, and let's appreciate that we have this amazing opportunity, this land of opportunity here, and work together and just make it a better society and better world. So wanted to just open with that, and wanted to then, I want to introduce Roberta Bernstein here and Judy Holstein. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here today. We spoke several months ago about the book, about coming on the show, and I thought it would be appropriate to have you on when Veterans Day was coming up. And what an amazing collection of letters that you have here. And it is, it was an incredible experience for me to read this book for many different reasons. I think I gained an appreciation for veterans. My grandfather fought in World War II. Similar, in the European theater, I heard a little bit about it, but not all the details. And here, I get to really hear the intimate details of this man, your father, as he's writing to your mother and some of the letters back to her, and really getting the essence of what was going on. This is a man who was 35 years old when he went, had a young daughter, Roberta, at home, lovingly missing her. And one other thing that I really appreciated here is that, Roberta, your son, Henry, is one of my closest friends, and I've known him for so long. And I feel like I've gotten such a further appreciation of your family. So thank you for putting this book out there. And, Judy, if you could tell us a little bit about the book and, how it came to be.
Well, our father, Sam, was drafted 1 month before his 35th birthday. And he was working at the time at the Chicago Daily News as a reviewer of theater, music, and nightlife. He served in the Army Medical Corps of the 130th General Hospital, and his service was in England, France, and Belgium. During his World War II service, he wrote letters daily often twice a day, to our mother, Esther. And his heading of each letter was somewhere in England, somewhere in France, somewhere in Belgium, because of course he couldn't tell her where he was. It would have been censored.
Right. No,
He urged our mother to store those letters. But on his return, like so many other returning World War II soldiers, he packed the letters neatly away in a box in the basement, and he never mentioned the box or its contents to anyone. He did not talk about his experiences. So our book contains his daily letters, which express the typical soldier's laments about army bureaucracy, the food, the need to procure one's own supplies, such as soap and hangers, and of course, the awful toilet facilities, uncomfortable beds.
in detail.
The slowness of the mail. He wrote about the war in all its aspects: loneliness, missing his wife and new baby, making new friends in the army unit, and firsthand accounts of his experience as a medic. His letters are lyrical, filled with pathos.
They're beautiful. And, he did give so much of the detail where you really start to hear all the challenges that a soldier may have. Now, Roberta, when did you find the letters? Because it's almost like it was like a time capsule, right?
That's right. It was in 2004, almost 40 years after they were written.
Wow.
Long after both of our parents had died. I found the box of beautifully preserved letters while I was looking for something else among a bunch of boxes that were under my ping pong table. What a surprise. I sat right down on the floor and started reading, totally engrossed and fascinated. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Wow. It's almost like, your parents came back to talk to you after they passed away, because they had passed away almost 20 years, 15, 20 years before that, right?
Right.
Wow. So Judy, I'm sure Roberta called you to tell you that she found these letters.
Oh, yeah.
So when did she call you? Like immediately after, and how did you make that decision to make this into a book?
Well, yes, she called me and she said, "You're not going to believe this," etc. We read and transcribed all the letters, and that took several years. And when that was done, we loaded the transcription onto jump drives and sent them to our children, Sam's grandchildren, and cousins. And a few of them said, "You should make this into a book." What made our father's letters so special was that they were written by a professional writer. And he stated repeatedly in these letters they should be carefully saved to use after the war for the book he planned to write.
Mm-hmm. So special.
He never wrote the book. And when we read the letters, we knew we had to write our father's book. These stories had to be told.
They absolutely did. And I'm so glad they were told. Now, Roberta, was it hard to compile everything here? And, how long did it take you to make this?
Okay, no, compiling the book wasn't hard. On the contrary, it was a joy. It was a work of love. We already had the complete set of letters transcribed, as Judy just described, and they were all in chronological order. So we started at the beginning, and with a pencil, we just went through and drew out, excised every mention of anything that did not pertain to the war experience per se, such as bills, family squabbles, the weather, the baby's development, gossip, all this personal stuff, all excised. It took us about 4 years to complete the book. We were both working full time, of course. And it was published in April 2018. And the reason it took us so long, besides that we were working, was that we kept finding more memorabilia in other boxes, plus interesting information in history books and on the internet, which we started exploring. And as we did our research about World War II, we learned that our experience was common. In the last 20 years or so, many children and grandchildren of World War II vets all over the country have been finding similar boxes that were stowed out of sight in basements and attics. And some of these people have turned their findings into books, some before ours, some are still coming out now.
Wow. It's amazing. And you've promoted it quite a bit with different speaking engagements and whatnot, right?
Yes. Here's how it was promoted. First, we published and sold it through, we publish and still sell it through Amazon. And Amazon promotes all of its books with reviews that it receives from people who post on their site. So right next to the listing of the book, or underneath, you see a whole list now, it's quite lengthy, of people's comments, and that's the best seller of all.
Of course.
Secondly, the Hyde Park Herald, where Sam worked as a featured columnist for the last decade of his life, did a wonderful story with photos about the publication. And finally, we contacted various organizations about giving book talks. And we've, up until the time of the pandemic, we were able to give 19 different talks. The biggest and best was the monthly book and author night at Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook. That was fabulous. We also did 2 talks in San Diego and 2 in Boca Raton, Florida.
Wow.
So,
No, it must have been a wonderful experience for you to share, what you've been doing there. We're going to have a quick break coming up, but, I want to talk about just, more about the experience of what Sam went through and, how it made you feel putting out these, these intimate details and reading about them and sharing them with the public, about your background, really, your parents and everything else. So it's really, really incredible. So everyone, please stick around. We'll be right back here in just a few moments with Judy and Roberta.
Over the past 8 years, the JCC Chicago Jewish Film Festival has become one of the most important and highly anticipated events within the community. Now, for the first time ever, the festival is going virtual. That's 23 films, 16 conversations with filmmakers, authors, and experts, all from the comfort of your own home. It all begins Sunday, November 1st and runs until November 19th. Once you purchase a film, you'll have 72 hours to start watching it, then 24 hours to finish it. So you really get to enjoy everything you can at your own pace. For more information, visit jccchicago.org. To make sure you get the most out of this event, take advantage of the special film pass available for a limited time, where you buy 5 movies and get the 6th one free. Restrictions apply. Visit jccchicago.org for more info. The JCC Chicago Jewish Film Festival, November 1st through the 19th. View the schedule and get your special film pass right now at jccchicago.org.
Welcome back to Inside the Skev. Here with Roberta Bernstein and Judy Holstein, we're talking about Somewhere in Europe, the World War II letters of Sam Lesner for Veterans Day week this week. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, here's a picture of the book. You could get it on Amazon.com, and it's a wonderful read. So thanks so much for joining us again today. And we just want to talk a little bit about, from the book, you could really get to know the experience of a veteran. And I think it's so important because, so many of us don't serve today. And I think that when there was service, you provide the service to the country and there's a common bond between them. But I think it's very important to read this book to have that understanding, to at least to start to. Now, Roberta, how did it feel? There's so much feeling and emotion that came out in this book, but how did it feel reading about the love that your father had for you? I mean, in such detail. Did he ever, tell you about the first time that he saw you again after the war? Because I know it went a little differently than what he was expecting.
He never talked about the war at all, nothing, not how he felt or anything. But in reading what he wrote, I was not surprised at this constant outpouring of love that he expressed, because that was how our parents lived. They expressed their love, they lived their love all the time. But it still was thrilling to see it expressed in writing in the highest literary quality.
Yeah.
I felt his love throughout my life without him saying anything. He just was a loving person.
Yeah, you could really tell. I
Yeah.
mean, just how much there was just an outpouring, and no matter what was going on, he always was asking about you, and so it was just wonderful to read. It made you feel good,
Yeah.
I imagine that's how it felt for you. Now, Judy, you were not born during the war. You were born after the war. But the service that your father did for the country, and the sacrifice that your mother made, and your sister, I mean, how did that influence your life? I mean, were there ever conversations, when Vietnam was going on, or anything that was going on in the country, was that talked about?
To repeat what Roberta said earlier, they simply didn't talk about World War II or his own experiences. But there is a way that we came to understand the context of his service through Tom Brokaw's book. Brokaw, our father, was among the millions who served in World War II. And Tom Brokaw called that whole generation the greatest generation. And I'd love to quote from his book. He said, "These men and women answered the call to help save the world from the two most powerful and ruthless military machines ever assembled. They faced great odds and a late start, but they did not protest. When the war was over, those who had been involved, joined in joyous and short-lived celebration, and then immediately began the task of rebuilding their lives and the world they wanted. They were mature beyond their years, tempered by what they'd been through, disciplined by their military training and sacrifices, and they stayed true to their values of personal responsibility, duty, honor, and faith." Well, Tom Brokaw's words describe our father. He picked up his career at the end of 1945. He returned to the Chicago Daily News and became their award-winning movie critic. He loved his work, his family, and his friends. And as a medic in the Army, he was 15 years older than many of his fellow soldiers.
Yeah.
His letters told us, quote, "I never seem to get tired of watching, waiting on, and serving my boys." Well, in post-war life at home, our father took care of his girls with the same dedication. When we were sick as children, for example, with coughs and colds, he patiently administered the Vicks VapoRub cure along with steam. And he would hold a towel over our head while we leaned over in the sink, breathing in the hot, steamy water or air. And while doing that, he either told us silly stories or sang so that the steam time would go by more pleasantly. Another memory is of his nurturing. He would take a block of chocolate out from under the cabinet under the sink, and he'd break off a block of this, melt it into mugs of hot milk, and start our mornings with hot chocolate and breakfast. He felt it was his role to do what he could. He said in December 1944 in his letter to our mother, "Little man, someday I will be able to say to myself, 'Little man, you've been through some busy days, but you've done a good job.'" So he never regretted being drafted. He felt it was his role to do whatever he could. And just before the Battle of the Bulge in December 44, he wrote, "Someday I will say to myself, yes, you've done a good job." So neither mom or dad talked about the war to us. And my only connection to that time was my memory of her telling us that she turned completely white. Her hair turned completely white right after dad was shipped out to Europe.
It makes sense. I mean, the incredible stress
Yes.
that you have, having your husband go off and you're home with a baby, it must have been truly excruciating. And he did go through the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, he was, and if you read the book, he was working in a hospital and as a medic, but doing manual labor and then working in the dental clinic with some unbelievable kind of conditions when things were going on, either with our soldiers or with the POWs that, are pretty intense. But, I think it's just a testament to the sacrifice that they gave. And, we're going to be taking a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Sam's life after service and the influence that, he had on his community afterwards. So it's, truly an amazing story, and, stick around. Hi, I'm Aaron Masliansky, longtime Skokie and Evanston resident, host of Inside the Skev, and local real estate expert. As a community connector and realtor with Dreamtown Realty in downtown Evanston, I know firsthand what makes the Skev such an amazing place to live. When I'm helping my clients buy and sell properties inside of the Skev or out, I'm doing it with the best technology and support team behind me at Dreamtown. During the pandemic, I've been able to help my clients seamlessly stay on track with their home search. From immersive 3D Matterport tours, professional photos, to virtual open houses, my clients can find their homes safely and comfortably, and even from their couch. When you're ready to make a move, know that I'll be here to help. You can always find out more about me at skevinston.com/real estate. Again, that's skevinston.com/real estate, or email me at aaron@skevinston.com.
Reading, writing, and math are a struggle for a lot of students. At BrainLinks, we know those skills are what paves the way to independence and success. Our specialists will help your child develop the habits they need to make sure they thrive not only in class, but out in the world in general. And of course, for everyone's safety, our lessons are done completely online. For more information on our team members and to schedule your initial consultation, visit brainlinksacademics.com. That's brainlinksacademics.com.
Welcome back to Inside the Skev. It's Aaron here, talking with Roberta Bernstein and Judy Holstein about somewhere in Europe, the World War II letters of Sam Lesner, who was their father, and in memory for Veterans Day. So thanks for listening. And we're just, we want to talk about, just Sam's life after the service and the influence he had on his family. So Roberta, what was it like as a child growing up in post-war from what you remember?
That was terrific. I was a charter member of the War Babies generation, and Judy was an inaugural baby boomer.
That's
In
right.
1946, our parents bought a house in a new neighborhood called Jeffrey Manor, which was a development for World War II vets only. Every house had a veteran father and a bunch of war baby and baby boomer kids. We were all on the same vibe and had great fun, but took school very seriously.
Well, I'm sure you appreciated it after what your family went through. Judy, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what your father's life work was? I mean, obviously he wasn't planning to be a soldier his entire life. This was something that he had to do for his country. But what did he do for a living?
The word adaptable comes to mind because he wasn't planning to be a medic either.
No.
He was a writer who was put in the medical business during the war. Afterwards, I've always thought of my father as a Renaissance man. He was a singer, a painter, a writer, an instrumental musician. He was also a fix-it man around the house. To help support his parents after he graduated from high school, he started out as a clerk doing filing for the Chicago Daily News. But it was because of his knowledge of the Yiddish language and theater, Yiddish theater, and musical training that led to a promotion. He became the nightclub writer, reviewer, and assistant radio editor and assistant drama editor. So he wrote for the Chicago Daily News for 50 years, all told,
Wow.
until it closed in 1978. The newspaper shut down. After the war, when he returned to the Daily News, he became an award-winning movie and nightlife critic. And he won a very prestigious award called the Directors Guild of America Critics Award for Outstanding Motion Picture Criticism. He also had a nightly radio show. He broadcast from the Tip Top Tap at the top of the Allerton Hotel.
Really?
And yeah, he interviewed celebrities who were in town at the time. And he taught hundreds of Chicagoans to play the recorder, and he conducted them in concerts, and he did a good deal of public speaking. In addition, he sang 2 solo concerts, one at Mangum Chateau and one at Mr. Kelly's. That was a benefit concert for a children's hospital. We have huge photo albums that are filled with photos of our father with hundreds of movie stars from the years 1946 all the way to 78. It was fun as a child to have the opportunity to meet many famous stars. He either took us with him when he went to interview them, or they came to the house.
Wow.
He viewed and wrote about movies. I thought this was really something wonderful to read about, as they were more than an art form. He said, despite the antics of some filmmakers today, the motion picture remains an art charged with a protean energy that is only rarely measured and evaluated as a social force. The belief persists with me that Hollywood often has probed deeply and significantly into social injustice, bigotry, and apathy without the primary thought of the almighty box office dollar. So he really believed the movie business could correct human nature, if not nature itself, or he hoped they could. So after a half a century at the Daily News, he didn't want to retire. So when it closed, he freelanced for community papers for a while and then landed a marvelous job as a feature columnist for the Hyde Park Herald, writing a column called Hyde Parkers All, which he wrote for 10 years until his death in 1990. He was 80 years old.
Wow. He lived a life in full. I mean,
yes.
He really did. He was really just a tremendous person of how he was involved in so many different things, and adaptable is so true. I mean, one thing I think is funny in the book, where he keeps trying to get into the dental clinic because his father-in-law is a dentist, and he's just trying to find some kind of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he really
by
never.
the way,
yes.
He wrote and worked, which was his joy, until literally the day he died. He turned in his final column. He didn't know it was his final column. When he turned it in, he went home that night, went to sleep, and died in his sleep.
Man. Yeah. So he, one thing I was going to ask, what did he do when he stopped working? But he never did. But do you think he ever felt like he was working?
Right.
No. It's really, he really did quite a bit. The community feature piece, I take that back to a little bit what I'm doing here. I mean, he would write about the different people throughout the neighborhood in Hyde Park and kind of just give them, the opportunity to get their voice out, right? And their story told.
Exactly. There's so many people's stories to be told.
There are.
I'd like to jump in here.
Yes.
The column was about all kinds of interesting people, business people and students and at the university and whoever crossed his path. It was very much like the array of people that you have in the Skev. You know, it was going into the community and featuring and showcasing neighborhood people. So it was in Hyde Park, and it was a comparable thing to what you're doing so well today.
Thank you.
Within the Skev.
No, it's a fun thing to do, and I think it's important because I think when we get to know our neighbors, we feel like we have more connections with each other. And you know how I discussed at the beginning of the show that it is, you know, this is a time for us to heal as a country and come together as Americans. And we may have differences of opinion on different matters and topics, which, like a family, you can have disagreements on different things that you have to make big decisions on. There shouldn't be one single way of solving problems. So I think it's important, and it's great what your father did. Now, Judy, what can we take from your parents' experience as we commemorate our veterans this week?
Well, let me use our father's words to perhaps answer that question, Aaron. He wrote, "Will men remember those moments of reunion with their children and direct their lives toward a world of peace? Or will they forget again and start fighting each other with the hatred and savagery of wild beasts?" He wrote, "This time we should learn what war does to young hearts and old, and truly make this a victory to end all wars." So he was prophetic. He was looking for the whole long future of our country and our world when he wrote from his position as a soldier in Europe, trying to defend that peace. So I think that really speaks to veterans of all wars. Each time, everyone hopes it's the final war. Our dad said it so eloquently.
Yeah.
And in bringing our father's story to light, we have learned that we are tapping into a current phenomenon of remembering and retelling stories of countless GIs who served in World War II. And I'm a member of the World War II Museum in New Orleans, which has done a phenomenal job of collecting and preserving this whole history. And one of the things they have done recently is an oral history project where there are still some veterans alive, and they're trying to get that every single person who's still alive recorded and saved in this museum. And they're doing big events for the 75th anniversary of Veterans Day.
I mean, it's great that we're recording it. You know, any of these stories that we can capture, truly so important. If somebody wants to buy the book or learn more about it, where can they go?
Best place, Amazon.com. Fast service, cheap price, good price, and you get it instantly. Also, there's one pair of bookstores that have accepted the book. It's in Hyde Park, fittingly, because that's where Sam worked at the end of his career. It's a seminary co-op bookstore in Hyde Park, with the second store being the 57th Street Books. And can buy it from us. We have books ready to ship if you'd like.
Perfect. And by the way, I think I neglected to mention here that Judy is a resident of the Skev. So if you're wondering what the connection here to Inside the Skev is, it's that she lives a block away from me. And
I'm a Skevinstonian.
Yes, you are a Skevinstonian. Well, I really appreciate you both being on. Coming after the break, we're going to have Ilene Uhlmann on the show, and she's the director of the JCC Arts, and we're going to talk about the Jewish Film Festival that's coming up, or is actually taking place now virtually, and where you can find it and learn more about it. But Judy and Roberta, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. It was wonderful.
Moving day is a happy day, but how can you be sure all of your stuff will get to the new place in the same condition they left the old place? Upgrade your experience to First Class Moving and Storage. You'll get a team of professionals who treat all of your belongings with care and have the right tools to make the job go smoothly. They even offer a full packing service. Upgrade to First Class Moving and Storage. They're local and independently owned. For more info, visit the website at firstclassmovers.com. That's the number one, stclassmovers.com.
Welcome back to Inside the Skev. This is Aaron. So glad everyone joined us here today. And for this segment, we are joined by Ilene Uhlmann. Ilene is the Director of Arts and Ideas Programming for JCC Chicago. Ilene, it's so great to see you. I have so much enjoyed being involved with everything with the Film Fest and everything else that you guys have done. And if you guys have listened to the podcast, I had Ilene on very early this year, pre-pandemic, and then I started doing some interviews or some post Q&As from some of the movies, and then I've done a lot of interviews for the J for a lot of authors and filmmakers, and it's been such a great experience. So, Ilene, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. Now, you are in charge of everything here with the Jewish Film Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about it and how it's a little bit different this year?
So we're just coming to the end of our 7th year of the film festival. And up until now, we've been in theaters. We welcome people in person, and our talkbacks are with experts and filmmakers who we've brought in from all over the world. And it feels like what one might expect from a film festival. There's nothing like being in a movie theater with the smell of the popcorn and a drink in your hand, and frankly, just the buzz. So, when we sell out a movie theater and there's people waiting to get into the next show and their friends are leaving the first show and everybody's talking, there's just, there's an energy and a vibe to that. And it's clearly community, and that's what JCC is all about.
Yes.
So this year, the COVID really threw a curve to us. And we were right in the middle of the film festival in March when we all had to shelter in place. And so my team said, okay, what do we do? Because we had some fabulous films that we were in the middle of showing, and we really didn't want the community to miss out on them. And so the whole film fest industry has gone to virtual film fest. And honestly, I think it's an interesting way of providing this opportunity to the community.
Yes.
And I think it's here to stay. I don't think it'll be the only way that we will engage people through film, but it does offer us some opportunities.
It does. I think some of the opportunities that I've experienced over this year where we do speak with the filmmakers is where you can talk to anybody anywhere around the world. So we had a movie that we talked about where it was about the Jews of Bollywood. So the filmmaker lived in Australia. One of the featured characters of the film lived in New York. I'm inside the Skev and interviewing people live around the world. It's just amazing how connected we are, even though we are not physically necessarily in person, but it just expands the opportunities. I mean, we spoke with a filmmaker in Austria about a wonderful, it was a dark film, but it was a very wonderful film about the Holocaust that he produced. And he sat in his home and I was in mine, and it's just, and anyone around the world can come and watch this.
So I'll share with you something funny. Yesterday morning, I was on a Zoom talkback with I'm trying to think, Nitsa Shawl, who was in Love and Suspenders. She starred in Love and Suspenders, and she was joining us from Israel. And we get on and I say to her, Nitsa, tell me what's going on in Israel. And she says to me, well, it's not as exciting as what's going on in the United States. And I said, really, do you know anything that I don't know? And she said, yeah, you have a new president-elect. So I had to talk to somebody in Israel to find out what was going on in my own country.
That's amazing.
You know, that's been part of the charm and the joy. And of course, there's a cost to bringing these filmmakers in from all over the world. And, you know, we all have budgets. But with what we found with COVID is that people are interested in connecting. They're looking for connection, and people from all over the world are looking for it. And so, you know, on Thursday, we talked to a filmmaker from Italy through an interpreter. Wow. And we talked to a filmmaker from France. And, you know, in past years, maybe that wasn't going to be a possibility. So COVID has offered us a lot of opportunities. You just have to look for them.
Yes, I agree. You do have to look for them and learn how to adapt, which the JCC definitely has. What are some of the films that are playing now that people can watch, and what's the website where people should go to learn more about it?
So, so right now, currently playing is a very interesting film, I Was Not Born a Mistake. And this is a film about an Orthodox rabbi who is struggling with his identity and struggled with it for a good part of his life until he made the decision to transition.
Whoa.
And so we are going to be joined by the filmmakers, and the talk will be moderated by Essie Shecher-Hill, who is Kesha Chicago's education and training manager. We're really excited about this opportunity to bring in the filmmakers to present a film of this nature and to start a conversation, because our whole point in running a film festival is to inspire thought, maybe learn something new, give people an opportunity to learn something new, present a range of viewpoints all about the human condition.
Now, Ilene, what is the website and what is the cost?
So the website is jccfilmfest.org, and you can find out about all the movies there. And the cost is $15 a registration, or you can buy a pass that gives you 6 films for the price of 5. Okay. And the reason why I say per registration is because in a normal year, if you were going to go to the movie theater, you'd be paying per person. But one of the other opportunities about virtual movie film festivals is that it doesn't matter how many people are sitting in your house and watching that movie. So it really is an opportunity to maximize your dollars in a time when, you know, the economy is tough.
Well, Ilene, we really appreciate what you're doing and what the opportunity is here for everyone. So you said jccchicago.org is where there's more information, correct?
That is our website, but the Film Fest is at jccfilmfest.org. And there you will see our schedule and you can register for the films.
Well, Ilene, thank you so much for coming on the show. If everyone wants to listen, 10 a.m. next Sunday, and you could listen to all the previous episodes at skevinson.com and learn more about what I do here. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this latest episode of Inside the Skev. To listen live, tune in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. to WCGO. That's 95.9 FM, 1590 AM, WCGOradio.com, or you can go to Facebook Live on WCGO's page or Inside the Skev. If you want to learn more about this great neighborhood or what I do, go to skevinson.com. And I want to thank every supporter of the show and all my listeners. Thanks so much.